How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews back with a little bit of pastry blonde ale time in the form of McCall Brewing. It's their Syrah Blonde. Yeah, this be a blonde ale is anything but typical, with several dozen of Mary Ann's famous cinnamon donuts added to the mash, along with lactose, more cinnamon added in the kettle. This beer is slightly sweet and as decadent as a beer can be. Yeah, so it's basically a cinnamon bun blonde ale. McCall Brewing, new brewery, kind of close to me, not too far away. This is the first thing I'm having from them that is not a hazy. So we'll see how this goes. Blonde ale, not the most exciting style, but it can prop up and be, a good delivery system for the pastry level stuff. We'll see what happens on this sucker. Label-wise, it's alright. It's a girl with cinnamon buns, like Princess Leia with cinnamon buns or something in her hair. I don't know. Anyway, looks like, honestly, it looks like New England hazy, a Belgian triple. It looks like a blonde ale that's very, very hazy. Over an index finger, infinite creaminess kind of head, because I pour like a dum-dum. And it's got rich golden color to it. Let's see if we got a nose. I expected a huge sweetness out of this beer. It's not that sweet. It's not that big in ABV. It's only 6%. But it's not that sweet. And it's not a ton of cinnamon in there either. It really, it's kind of like you can get the added sugar portion of the show here. It's not coming off as like lactose, but it's definitely coming off as like a baker's sugar confectionery kind of thing going on, for lack of a better explanation. Outside of malts, base malts, let's put it that way. I'm not getting a ton of cinnamon on there. There's a soft little spiciness I can attribute to that cinnamon. It really does come off, to me, more like the icing on a donut than like a cinnamon kind of thing going on here. I don't hate it. Let's put it that way. It's just I expected this big cinnamon thing. Just from the look of the beer, the name of the beer, the whole nine. Not really getting it, but I'm not necessarily mad about it either. So sweet. Definitely sweet on sweet on sweet. There's not really much, if any, bittering there. But it's a little bit flabby in the way that kind of honey kind of works in beer for me. So that could be a little bit of off flavor stuff. Sometimes I get that before I get a little dash, little vibes going in there. But we'll see what's what. Let's dive in. I'm curious. Cheers. That doesn't suck. This reminds me of something, and I don't know what it is. It's an American blonde ale, so it's nothing overly complex. There's a nice soft sweetness to it and a nice soft graininess. It almost veers into little cereal kind of grains. You do get an added sweetness to it, so there's a kind of residual sugar, I guess, left over from the donuts or whatever was added to it. Yeah, and that lactose could be it too, but it doesn't have that kind of soft mouthfeel. It's dense. It's kind of like the mouthfeel comes off like braggoty for me. If you've ever had like a real braggot, it has this kind of honey density thing, that flabbiness I was talking about earlier. And the cinnamon roll there is not nearly as big as I thought it was going to be. That was all assumption on my part, assuming, okay, it's going to be a cinnamon bun ale, it's going to have cinnamon in it, it's going to have 19 doses of cinnamon, it's going to be a cinnamon bun. Those, all the assumptions belong to us. Wasn't there in the nose, it's not there in the taste, but it definitely exists. It's there, but it's very, very soft. It tastes kind of like a beer version of a glaze, like a Krispy Kreme kind of glaze you would put on a donut. And I kind of like it. Listen, to me, this is a share beer. It's not high in ABV. It's not overly sweet. But at the same time, I want 6 ounces of this max. I'm on to the next beer. That's kind of how I roll with these beers. It's a matter of personal preference. And while I find them fun and I find them interesting, just kind of, not my favorite style of beer. But I dig this. I like it. Way more than I thought I would. Think blonde barley wine. Okay? But it's 6%. That's probably the best way I could put it. I keep trying to associate this with a more familiar kind of beer flavor. Yeah, think of blonde barley wine without the heat at 6%. That's kind of where this comes off, because it really isn't heavy-handed on the spices. There is an added sweetness to it. but it ends up being kind of fun and drinkable and a soft little blonde pastry stout. Call this, that's what you should have called this. A blonde pastry stout. If you said this is our version of a blonde stout, but pastryified, I think people would be like, oh my god, this is crazy. This is a blonde pastry stout. That's kind of how it comes off to me. Yeah, this is a very interesting beer. Just from a kind of process kind of thing to where I dig it. I think it's tasty. Viscerally, it's tasty. It's fun. I like it. I'm probably going to drink the whole can. It's a fun beer. But when you break it down to, like, where does this fall on the level of what I enjoy out of a beer, it's in that interesting kind of category. So let's cut to the chase and we'll talk about that. This is one of the better blonde ales I've had. As like, yes, it's going to default to that because I'm not a big blonde ale kind of guy, unless we get into Belgians, but I believe this is strictly an American blonde ale that's been gussied up, and that in of itself, it'll be up towards the top. But if you now flip the script and go into my interesting beer category, where it's like sometimes beers can be okay in their own category, but there's something unique and fun about them that they kind of elevate in a more interesting kind of way, than a more knee-jerk tasty kind of way. That's where this beer kind of really shows for me, and in that aspect, it's up there. It's fun. Value and availability, no idea. Yeah, this comes courtesy of my boy Adam. Let me know what's what, Adam. Let me know how much this costs. Assume it's brewery only. Leave you with, if you like what way you like this beer, if you like fun beer. I mean, this is a beer not to be taken seriously. It's a cinnamon bun beer. It has cinnamon in it. It has a girl with cinnamon buns on the front of it. It's not supposed to be taken seriously, but it's tasty. So if you like tasty, not so serious beers, you'll like this. So there you go. Another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massive. Want to check me out doing a whole podcasting thing, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of cinnamon bun beer right now. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers.